On Wednesday, and John Nichols here this morning from the city of College Station. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, Scott. I'm fine.
Great.
Glad to be here.
Yep. Let's talk first before we talk about the city council, which is coming up on Thursday. Yesterday, you sold some bonds. Tell us how that went.
Yeah, that's right. We authorized that over the last several months, and yesterday was the day that we put them out on the market. Got a lot of competition for them, and we did about $5 million better than we thought we would do, given the estimate of where the market was. So yesterday was a good day, a lot of competition. We of course, refunding some GEOs from 2014 with these general obligation bonds from 2014, which were now 10 years old. Time to take a look at it. We thought we were going to get about a 5% gain on that. We got 9% gain. We sold those COs for 3.54%. And we were expecting it was going to be over 4% total interest cost.
So let's bring it down to some basics so people can understand. Okay, so we got that $5 million. Now, where would that have come from? How does that impact the city budget, I guess?
Well, that is actually a good question. That is a gain for our debt service. In other words, it reduces the cost of serving our debt out into the future for the next 10 years on those refunded general obligation bonds. So we aren't going to have to service them at the previous rate. We're now going to service them at about a 3.54% over the next 10 years to close them out. So we're saving on that about $1.8 million just on that part of it alone. And then when you look at what we expected we were going to be selling them for, around 4.1%, and we're actually getting the 3.54 on the COs, certificates of obligation. We also sold general obligation bonds that were tied to the voters' approval for some things in the parks and elsewhere for 3.24% total interest cost all in. And that when you tie those two together compared to what we were expecting, we saved about $5 million relative to what we expected the cost of our debt service would be. So that reduces our debt service cost over the next number of years.
It's like ending up you've sold something in your house and you get more money than you thought and you can pay part of your credit card bill off.
Well, that's right. Well, why are College Station bonds so competitive? Why are they so good?
Okay.
We got a great bond rating, number one, and we work hard to keep that. We're in a great college town, which has a relatively stable economy. People don't understand that, but we're not protected entirely from a recession, but we're a recession-proof to some extent. And College Station is a very well-run, very efficient city. So the hard work of our staff yields a really competitive market when those bonds go out there. And so we had about 8 or 10 bidders in each case, and they kept overbidding each other to push that interest rate down to 3.54 in the certificates of obligation and 3.24 for the general obligation bonds.
This commercial brought to you by the city of College Station, John.
Yeah, absolutely.
What did you expect? What did you look at?
Well, this is where the rubber meets the road,
It
Scott.
is. That's true.
And if you run a really efficient city, which we do, relatively low tax rate, and I must say we got a very good economy in College Station, so we're taking advantage of that by borrowing money cheaper than you might otherwise. And we've got to build things. I heard Mayor Gutierrez talk about infrastructure last week. Yeah, we build a lot of infrastructure too. They're building infrastructure. I think his claim was that they aren't building the infrastructure for experiential things and quality of life. Well, take a look at Midtown Park. I think that is a big quality of life thing. I applaud them for that. They're doing a great job on it. We're doing some of that, but we're building roads. We're putting sewer lines in the ground. We're doing a lot of stuff in infrastructure in College Station too.
Well, one city's twice as old as the other.
That's true.
We'll do the mayor's debate on that later.
But we got the growth going.
You do.
So you take a look at the amount of money we're spending on infrastructure. It's a pretty substantial amount. I don't know what Brian is paying for all of their stuff, but we're in the infrastructure game as well.
So tomorrow night, you're going to get with the next step. We're trying to find a way to get affordable housing into the city of College Station, basically. So you're going to have a report. Can you give me an idea of, David Browers, we've had David on before. David is going to make the presentation. Can you tell me, were there any guidelines put forth because you wanted to get a report on the future of housing in College Station and what can we do? Did he have any rules that he needed to follow, or did he put all that together?
Well, he had the Citizens Committee that worked with him. And so the Citizens Committee that we appointed were I guess the guardrails, you want to call it that, but it was really to generate ideas from the outside, not just from the staff. Yeah, I'm sure there's an awful lot of staff input into this. David and his staff did a lot of the homework to look at things like city X, Y, or Z. What are they doing? Give us the data. Give us your documents of how you set up these kind of organizations to do these sorts of things. So a lot of staff work went into it, but there was a Citizens Committee, and what we wanted, or what we want, are ideas. And this is just a report. We're getting a preview of it tomorrow night. They'll go back and finalize it, and they'll come back in September to approve this report. And then we got to think about the serious stuff, which is implementing it. And if you listen to David's introduction they did at Planning and Zoning, he said, this is a lot of ideas. They're not all going to be successful. He didn't say it quite that way, but there's some competition among them. He said, and a lot of them are not going to be easy, and you might find that some are going to compete with others. So there's a whole array, a potpourri of ideas in there covering density, building efficiency, and third, how do you finance lower income lower cost of housing for workforce? How do you build that out?
So one member of council, basically those 3 points, just kind of a quick overview on how you feel about those 3 things that have to be.
Well, I'm going to wait for the report, Scott. Don't push me. But I would say, the home builders, given what we require and what we expect in terms of efficiency and the amenities and the regulations we have, are doing a really good job of delivering a product. Are there cheaper ways to build it? I'm not an expert on that. I'd like to see the technology. So that's part of it, is how do you build cheaper? The first part, which I think we're already working on, is density, using less land for the same number of square foot of housing and bedrooms. So you get more bedrooms per acre. Density we're working on. We've done a lot of work on that in the last 3 or 4 years. So we're working on that. The third thing is the financing part. Housing finance corporations and housing authorities and legal financial institutions that are going to be the hardest things, I think, for us to wrestle with. But I want to hear the discussion in council, and it's kind of an open discussion at this point.
Well, certainly the third, housing authorities, that's something other cities have done. You basically know what a blueprint there is. But technology is always changing when it comes to building technology. And, of course, density, yes, we understand the challenge there. But those last 2, certainly I find to be interesting. And College Station has the chance to maybe break some ground that they haven't done before.
We're definitely looking for some of those ideas. There won't be any silver bullet, but it'll be another thing we can do on the margin to provide a little bit more effective access to housing for a workforce and the affordability issues, which is really the crunch of the whole thing.
Sure. You're going to have a RU that you're going to look at, which is kind of in the area back around Dominic and I guess
Ashburn. I think they call it Ashburn, both sides of Ashburn and Rose Circle. There's 3 independent groups there. They all supported it and voted for it, went to P&Z. They presented it there. P&Z recommended us to unanimously, and we'll look at it then Thursday night.
As best you can tell from your time that you've spent here as a resident and an elected official, many more opportunities for RUs here in College Station?
Oh, I think so. I haven't looked at the map at all. I think we're just now finally getting it to be a more routine kind of thing. The city of Bryan's had these kinds of arrangements for 20 years or more, and they got 40 or 50 of them. We've got 6 or 8, maybe now 10. I think there are other neighborhoods that are looking at these and trying to figure out how to get it done. It's more routinized now. We got a playbook. We got staff to check and review, and it becomes more what I call almost ministerial if they can get the number of signatures up on their petitions. And that's really what it comes into.
So if they're a group of citizens, first thing they need to do is get in touch with what department in the city?
Planning Development Services would be the place you'd start with, and I think Debbie Eller's Department, Community Services. Those are the 2 places to start it. But there's a handbook on it, and there are staff there in Planning Development Services that help you move it through, give you counsel on how to do it.
Sure. Anything else for us this morning?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that you may have seen in the paper, we closed out our agreement with CBL on maintenance of the Macy's building, and that was resolved in a friendly manner. We've always maintained that we would pay the bill if they would send us one, so that lawsuit is off the books.
Any other details on that you can share with us?
No, other than just they've agreed now that they'll allow us to pay whatever they invoice us for. We just indicated we wanted them to invoice us for the amount of money, but we can't tie it to the Property Owners Association, the POA, because legally the state doesn't allow a city to join a POA, so we couldn't do that. But we agreed to pay in lieu of a certain amount of money, and that monthly rate I don't remember, but we're going to reimburse them and cover the maintenance costs, no problem. But it's just a matter of different ways of looking at it, and finally the attorneys got to that. You'll also notice we got a traffic congestion study report on Thursday night. There is a website, and just go to the city's website, cstx.gov, traffic survey, and citizens are asked to put their thoughts into that. Congestion is one of the issues we have all the time, and we're looking at ways to manage that better, and we've got a consultant that's working on that. They make a report this week. You also notice on the 22nd, we're going to actually adopt the tax rate, but tomorrow night we have to announce the date that we're going to do that. It'll be the same tax rate, 51.3 cents as last year.
All right. There you go. John Nichols, the Mayor of College Station. Thanks for the time this morning.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate the opportunity.